So I hear you want to run an ultramarathon. I'm excited for you. So where do you begin? There's so many ways to start training for an ultramarathon. One way is to ask yourself, all right, let's choose an event and then start to study the course, start to study the elevation profile, what kind of food the aid stations will have, the weather. Ultramarathon running can be looked at almost as your life, meaning you never know when you're going to be walking through the neighborhood and you're going to not notice slippery ice on the ground. That's what I'm trying to pay attention to right now. That's why instead of walking on the street today, I'm walking on this bark path. It's so dark out here, you can't really tell that I'm on bark. But it's important to understand the terrain you're going to be running on. So when I say ultramarathon running is like life, you might think, oh, I'm just going to drive to work today on the freeway. And you go a certain speed, right, on the freeway. But let's say there's a road closure for some reason, and you have to take a back country road. That back road is going to be a lot slower, and that's okay. And you're just going to look at your journey that day of going to work in a different way. Well, with ultramarathon running, a lot of this takes place where you may have read about the course online or heard about it from friends, and you get there and it's not what you thought it was going to be. I had one event last year, which I absolutely loved, but it really was not what I expected. 2 years ago, I ran the same course. It was on a sand dune course. It's beautiful. It's near the town of Florence, Oregon, and it's called the Isla Dunes Ultra. So the first year I ran the 20-mile course. Absolutely loved it. It challenged me on all levels. And when I was done, I crossed the finish line. I thought, wow, that was it? I thought, you know what? I had so much more in me. So why didn't I push myself a little harder? Maybe I was afraid that day for some reason to push. Wyatt, you come up here. This puppy's getting me to warm up this morning. But last year, I signed up for the longer distance because I figured, well, I did the 20-miler and I felt great afterwards. I put in the proper training for that. A lot of the ways I had trained was actually running through this neighborhood in snow, because it was me trying to keep my balance and pushing off with, I didn't have that good stable ground, right? There was a lot of loose snow, which caused me to work my muscles even harder. And that's similar to sand. You put your feet down in the sand and you try to push off to give yourself power, and the sand gives, so you're not able to have great running efficiency. But again, when I started the Isla Dunes course last year, the 50K, well, what happened was there was a huge snowstorm that came in. And don't quote me on this. I just remember when we were driving to the course, we passed through a mountain range, Tillamook State Forest in Oregon. And there was so much snow up there over the last week or so of that event that when it melted, or started to melt, right, it filled up all these creeks and rivers. So the course at the Isla Dunes had so much extra water in the creeks that when I got into the creek to cross it, it was all the way up to my hips. And I had food in my pockets. I had to lift my food up and get through that water more than once during that event. Just know that when you do your first ultramarathon, things are going to happen to you that you just don't expect. So I'm here to support you in your ultramarathon running dreams and your training. Keep in touch. Let's meet up. Here's to growing. Here's to improving. And here's to knowing that we can achieve the impossible.